Happy Tuesday night. How we doing? Welcome to Johnny Gaz Live. Coming at you from Glens Falls, New York, from my home in the basement of the laboratory. How are you guys doing? How's your Tuesday? How was your weekend? How was your Thursday night? Thinking all the way back to last week. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for joining me for another live session here this evening. We're going to be talking Detroit Lions football all night long. We got a great night ahead of us here. A lot of fun topics. Of course, we're going to hit on the Lions Thursday night victory over the Cowboys, 44-30 in a must-win, got to have it type of game. The Lions show that grit, show that determination, and come out victorious in Week 14. So we're definitely going to hit on that. We're going to talk about the winners, the losers, key plays. We'll talk about all that here today. We'll get into that game in detail. We got some injury updates we got to get into, some roster changes the Lions have hit on here in the last couple days, things that will affect the upcoming matchup. Of course, we'll get into what this means for the playoff picture for the Lions here with their most recent victory, now moving to 8-5. They're now back into the thick of things as far as the playoff race, so we're going to dive into that. And of course, we're going to preview the next biggest matchup in this 2025 season, Lions, LA Rams, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, the rematch for the third or fourth time. But this time the Lions have to travel to SoFi to go to Stafford land and see if they can take out the red-hot Rams. So we're going to dive into that game as well on a preview. We have so many fun topics today. We're going to get into the chat. We're going to have a ton of questions for you guys. That's how we do it here on Johnny Gaz Live every single Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys for joining. Make sure to slap the like button. Share the stream out to your friends and family. Let's get everybody involved here early so we can talk some Lions football. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to 313 Villain Squad for allowing us to broadcast on that platform. We are live there today. Of course, we're live on Johnny Gaz Sports on YouTube as well as Facebook. Make sure to subscribe, join, become a member. There is a ton of fun content there for you. And we have so much fun talking Lions football, but we're going to hit it hard here tonight on a Tuesday. But let me know how you guys are doing. Let's get involved. Scott, what's going on? Trim, what up, doe? How we doing tonight, fellas? Appreciate you guys getting in the chat early. Make sure to say hello if you are new to the channel. And before we go any farther, let's get chat involved right away. What is one word? Give me one word you would use to describe the Lions' victory over Dallas on Thursday Night Football. Drop it in the chat right now. Give me one word to describe the Lions' victory in Week 14 over the Dallas Cowboys. What a game. What a game. Lions beat the Cowboys 44-30 on Thursday Night Football. What ended up being the most watched Thursday Night Football game in Amazon's history. So obviously everyone loving the Lions, and the matchup with the Cowboys and Lions, huge on Thursday night. Lions sort of limping into that matchup, and I won't sit here and lie to you. I picked against them. I honestly picked against the Lions. I'm not going to sit here and hide from it. I'll own my mistakes, and I love eating crow when it comes to the Lions. I'm always happy to be wrong. I just felt the Lions were limping into this matchup on their offensive line, their defensive line. They were suffering injuries defensively. There's so many things I thought were leaning against the Lions in this matchup, but lo and behold, out comes that grit, the Dan Campbell urgency. What I think was led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, and what a monster performance there. Heroic, playing with a high ankle sprain. Man, you have to be impressed with that. You have to be impressed with the whole team. Again, coming out with urgency. Offense was firing on all cylinders. Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 touchdowns on the day. Again, explosive in the run game as well as the pass game. Jahmyr Gibbs showing he is everything of what could be an offensive player of the year. The defense was opportunistic, forcing several turnovers. Jack Campbell forcing a turnover, getting a sack. El-Quadin Muhammad with 3 sacks on the day. He now leads the Detroit Lions in sacks on the season. That's pretty incredible. But it seemed like the defensive pass rush started to get going, got after Dak Prescott, and affected their offense, ultimately leading to that 44-30 victory on Thursday Night Football. It was a fantastic game. It really was. It was a fun watch. The offensive line, I think that has to be a huge focus. A lot of takeaways from that game. I think one of the biggest takeaways is the shuffling that the Lions did on this offensive line. They had Mahogany already out with an injury, so he wasn't available. They're now working him back into the rotation. He's now back into his window to try and get back onto this active roster. So we'll see if he can come back sooner than later. But the Lions in this game were without a left guard. Graham Glasgow was banged up. So they really had to twist some things around. Tristan Colon ended up seeing a lot of snaps at both the guard and center position. They worked in Miles Frazier, their 5th-round draft pick, who had been injured up to that point in the season, but he saw some time, and they really started to get some things going, develop more of a rhythm offensively. So although I don't know if they found the exact 5 that they're comfortable with, it sounds like word from the organization is that Miles Frazier will be a part of the rotation again in Week 15. So I think they're happy with the way this offensive line is coming together. Trim says, I know you choose against the Lions, and I did not. You did not, Trim. That's fair. And I always call out my own bull crap. Let me blow up the chat for you guys here a little bit. There we go. Yeah, Trim, I picked against them. I really did. I have no problem saying that. Thoughts on the new signings? Jeff, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the chat. Appreciate you, bud. You know, bringing back Mollett, I think, is big. Obviously, with the lack of Brian Branch, I think you had to build some depth. The other safety they brought in, was it Kazee, whatever his name is? I think that's a good veteran pickup. You have to kind of question, though, as far as the defensive backs they're bringing in. Are they difference makers? Probably not. But Kelvin Shepard has proven that he can sort of piece together this Legion of Whom idea, and they're having to do it again. So I like that they mixed in the veteran that, you know, with Kazee, and they have familiarity with Mollett. So I think there's some good signings there. They also picked up that Miami tight end, Ricci, and I think that's going to pay dividends this week because they released Dwelly. So now they're basically now at tight end with Ferkser and this Ricci guy. So I think he'll see the field as well. So I think they're trying to get guys that are veterans that have seen time on the field and that can help them. But I don't think any of these guys are ultimate difference makers, Jeffrey. So I just think it's more of next man up, and let's get as much out of these depth pieces as we can. Trim says Detroit will beat Ben and his little Johnson. Yes, we have a huge matchup with the Bears looming down the road, Week 18. We will talk about that as we get into the playoff implications here in just a moment. Happy Tuesday, Robert. How you doing, my brother? Welcome, welcome. Trim's name is Scott Norton. Hey, buddy, I didn't know that. So we got a couple Scotts in the chat. Yeah, Kazee, I think it's a good signing. I do. It's, again, veteran. He's led the league in interceptions in his career. So, obviously, it's not going to be a Kirby Joseph ball hawk situation, but you have a guy that's familiar, can put his hands on a football. So, I think that's going to be a good thing, Jeff. What's up? Another Jeff in the chat. My friend, I can't hear you because at the club, but wanted to support you. I appreciate you, man. Look at Jeff coming in from the club. Where are you clubbing at, man? That's why you got the stream up at the club. I appreciate it. And always do that. I appreciate you, bro. But go get it, man. Go get one for me. Jermo Detroit Lion Jones. What up, Doe? How you doing, baby? Welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Yeah, we're diving into this Week 14 victory, Thursday Night Football, talking about the key takeaways. We just hit on the offensive line. And I think that shuffling will probably continue. Again, the word is that Miles Frazier will probably see some more time at guard. I think that means that Graham Glasgow then is your center. So you probably have Miles to the left, Ratledge to the right, Glasgow up the middle, and then your two tackles, of course, Penny Sewell, Taylor Decker. You have to feel pretty good about that 5 coming out of this Dallas game. Again, they started to get a little bit of a rhythm, and I think that they can continue that this week against the Rams. Ultimately, I thought the Lions kept their composure. Again, in a game that they really had to win. If they lose to Dallas, that really would have knocked them, I don't want to say out of it altogether, but really would have put them in a bind. So to have that grit to come back and get a victory when you had to have it, I think was huge. Defensively, their front 7, their linebacker play stood out to me against Dallas. Again, Jack Campbell is just second level this year. All-pro for sure. Pro Bowler guaranteed. I just think that he is becoming one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And if you're going to get to the playoffs this year, you're going to have to rely on your front seven, and Jack Campbell's going to be a huge part of that. You have a lot of depth problems at safety and in the cornerback room, so you're going to have to get pressure like you did against Dallas. If they can continue that, they have a good shot. But Jahmyr Gibbs, again, I mean, I just can't speak enough about Jahmyr Gibbs and everything that he's done to get this offense off the ground or off the mat. There were several weeks where things sort of got stagnant, very stale with their rushing attack even. But through all of it, Jahmyr Gibbs has been able to make plays because he's so available, not only in the run game, but in the passing game. And the game against Dallas, 7 catches for 77 yards on top of everything else. 3 scores on the day, but again, a guy that you can hand the ball off to, and he is electric and a touchdown threat every single time. Jared Goff, another good, efficient day, managing the game, managing the offensive rhythm. Quietly had a very good day against the Dallas Cowboys. I think with Jahmyr Gibbs' performance, the turnovers, the fact the Lions had to have a victory, and Jared Goff is never flashy. It's hard to ever really give him true credit, and he's been good. And the big picture, really the momentum that this could build as the Lions now get the 10-day break before going to LA to face the Rams. They're at 8-5. And more importantly, it bumps their playoff odds significantly. Trim says, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Human cheat code Gibbs, absolutely. Everybody can talk the bull crap they want, but I don't care. Trim, I give you so much credit, man. You have hung in there. You've been positive from the get-go. I love that about you. Love that about those positive Lions fans. And I've really been trying to shoot you straight the last couple of weeks. And I appreciate you always bringing the positive. And you were right last week, my man. I'll always admit when I was wrong. I was wrong. And I'm so happy. So question for you guys in chat. Who was the MVP of the Cowboys game? Was it Jahmyr Gibbs? Was it Tom Kennedy? Don't forget about big Tom Kennedy. Special teams played a major factor in that Dallas game. I thought they were able to flip the field, especially with their kickoff return game. I think Tom Kennedy might have even led the team in all-purpose yards, weirdly enough. But he came up huge, so we can't leave him out. So who was your MVP for the Lions against the Cowboys? Let me know in the chat. Do you know what happens to people who watch Johnny Gaz and don't like and subscribe? Do you? You just made the list. Appreciate you, Trim. If you haven't already, slap that like button, share the stream out, hit that subscribe if you have not already. Make sure to jump on the Johnny Gaz Sports train. We are rolling through the Christmas season, and we are always talking Detroit Lions. So winners and losers from that Dallas game, of course, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, that's clear. Dual threat, weapon all over the place, on the ground, through the air. Can be involved in any scheme that they put together, and ultimately he just needs to put his hands on the football. The more Jahmyr Gibbs, the more success this Lions offense seems to have. So let's roll with it. Let's roll with it. There we go. Again, the defensive front, Al-Qadim Muhammad, another huge winner in this game. I think the fact that he now leads the Lions in sacks tells you the effect that he can have opposite Hutch. Now, I don't know if that's really the end-all, be-all piece that I'd love to see there. You'd love to have more of an impact player, but the truth is he's making an impact. When you have 3 sacks in a game, and clearly it's that combined with the other talent they have on their defensive line that allows Muhammad to have one-on-ones. There were some breakdowns up front for that Dallas offensive line that he benefited from. So I really thought that was huge. Al-Qadim Muhammad, a huge winner in this matchup. Danny Clute in the house. How you doing, brother? Good evening, my man. Good to see you. Appreciate you stopping by, dude. The special teams, another big winner. Again, we just touched on Tom Kennedy, but I just thought his return game, changing the field position, that's a value you can't underestimate moving forward. And I really think the question now is Tom Kennedy your kick returner? Even when Khalif Raymond returns, I don't think you can deny that type of performance. So should Tom Kennedy get more opportunities? My answer is yes. What do you guys think? Also, shout out Lion Cup. Big shout out Lion Cup. Got to throw Mama Gaz into the mix. She sent that my way for Christmas season. Sipping my drink out of it. Cheers, guys. Happy Tuesday. Appreciate you guys coming along for another Johnny Gaz Live. I really do. Theo says, GIBBS MVP, but Kennedy was the not-so undercover X factor. Good way to say it, Theo. How you doing, brother? Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's a great way to say it. Trim says, GIBBS not in the MVP conversation, question mark? I just think he's playing offensive player of the year type ball. I think if the Lions had won a few more games and the offensive rhythm had been there for a few more weeks mixed in, you could maybe make that argument. I think he's been even more dynamic than, let's say, Jonathan Taylor was early on in the season. So I look, I'm not mad at the argument. I'd support it. I just think it takes, it's a quarterback award. Let's be honest. It's just the truth. Millicent is in the house. Millicent. Hold on. I'm slow on the draw here, Millicent. You get one of these. Pow. Trim with the positivity as always. You always do. I knew our boys were going to bring the grit to beat the overly confident Dak and Co. Let's go Lions. Millicent, appreciate you. Always bringing the positive. Theo bringing the positive. Danny says, yes, Kenny should play as much Kenny as we can. As much as we can. I agree. You can't be doing better than Barry Sanders and not an MVP. I mean, you're right, Trim. You're absolutely right. I mean, his touchdown production right now, I mean, look, to be even put in that light, incredible. Just amazing. Yes, the gong. You get the gong, Millicent. Of course you get the gong. I'm just too slow to the draw. I'll get better with that. I'll get better with that, Appreciate you guys. Robert says, Johnny Gaz Sports, I think we have a shot against LA with just a little amount of pressure on Stafford. Yeah, Robert, and we're going to hit in this big time here in just a minute, but I think you're exactly correct. We got to get after it. Their defensive front will tell the whole story here. I think their offense is going to be okay. I think they can probably move the ball down the field, but really, can they get after it? Because if you give Matt Stafford time, he will pick you apart, especially in injured secondary. And that's where we're going with this. The injury report, the recent roster moves, the Brian Branch injury, that's huge, guys. I can't hide that one. He's a huge piece to the Lions defense. Jack of all trades. What I'm looking for, a Swiss Army knife. There it is. Couldn't find it. He's that Swiss Army knife for the Lions defense. Can do it all, especially with the other injuries. You kind of were able to lean on him as your blanket defensively, and now you don't have that. You're now without two starting safeties, without your starting corner, and you're really operating with DJ Reed and this legion of whom. So unfortunately, with Brian Branch and this torn Achilles, he's out for the season. Most likely will be out a large chunk of next year as well. I'm not saying I'm comparing this, guys, so I'm not like doing this, but I have recently this year torn my Achilles tendon. I'm 7.5, 8 months in, and I am still at probably 80%. He's a much better athlete than I am, and certainly will recover better and have a better regimen. But my point is, it takes time, and to get back to the level you were playing at before, that's worrisome. So how did Detroit respond? Like we were asked about earlier, Damontae Kazee, former league leading interception guy, was brought in off the waiver wire, hopefully to shore up this secondary, and does add some experience. So you got to like that. You're adding some veteran play into that secondary. So you have DJ Reed, you'll have this. Of course, you have Amik Robertson, Rock Ya-Sin, guys that you've been able to rely on through this issue. But I think they're going to be playing from behind here in their secondary, and that's why that defensive front is so important. Talked about bringing Mollett back in. They had released him. They're bringing him back. He had made an impact in earlier games, and they want it to be the same this time around. They're going to need some type of performance from these guys to hold up against all of the weapons for the Rams. We talked about on the offensive line the potential boost of adding back in Christian Mahogany. He's returning to practice this week. I don't expect him to play against the Rams. That's why we're hearing, I think, a lot about Miles Frazier. Trim says GIBBS will carry Detroit to a Super Bowl victory. Let's go. Millicent, as MCDC says, just focus on the next one in front of you. And I think that's what they're doing. Find the game plan that works for the next man up, the next one up, and this game against the Rams. Danny says, yes, Lions are going to surprise the Rams. And Trim is all about that GIBBS MVP. Let's go. So, yeah, they're going to have to scramble a bit with Branch out. That's the truth. And again, it's all about that defensive front. Try to minimize the drop-off. Don't put these guys on an island. Do they have to shift a little bit more away from the man coverage? I still think they have a lot of faith in DJ Reed and what they can get from some of their depth corners. So, although it is a huge hit to lose Brian Branch, I don't certainly say it's a death nail for this defense. So, question for you guys in chat. How worried are you about the Lions secondary going into this Rams game? Scale of 1 to 10. 1, you are not concerned whatsoever. They're going to dominate. You're good. And at 10 is you are in full panic mode. They can't cover anybody. Puka Nacua is going to run all over them. And this game is going to be one on the Rams side because of our secondary. So, again, scale of 1 to 10. How worried are you about the Lions secondary as we go into the Rams? Theo says, yes, let's go 1-0. That's it. 1 week at a time, 1 victory at a time. The Rams aren't ready for this latest version of GIBBS, according to Millicent. You might be right. You might be right. This is a different level GIBBS. This year is next level GIBBS. Not worried at all. Let's go Lions. Woo! Also, shout out to Lions Talk Live, Dan and the Dew Crew. Got to show him some love every morning. Check them out. Playoffs. Playoff picture. What's at stake? What did this Lions victory mean against Dallas? Where does it move them into this playoff picture? After this win, Detroit now sits at 8-5. Playoff odds have jumped. Many models have them somewhere between 45 and 55% chances of making the playoffs. In the NFC standing, Detroit remains behind teams like the Rams, but they're going to have a shot at them now. 49ers, Packers, Bears. Those are the teams that are competing for these last wild card spots. And with only a few games left, we really can't afford many slip-ups. Now, I don't know that I would necessarily call the Rams game a must-win, but if the Lions lose this game, they pretty much take away any control of destiny off their plate. Whereas if they win this game, I really believe they still hold their cards in their hand, and it sets up for what probably is the biggest Week 18 matchup in several years. A return of Dan Campbell to Chicago to face Ben Johnson and the upcoming Bears. It will be a fantastic matchup. Danny's at maybe a 2 as far as his panic level with the secondary. So you're feeling good about it, Danny. Again, scale of 1 to 10. How concerned are you for this Lions secondary against the Rams? Danny's at a 2. So I think this Week 15 game against the Rams matters because it's really not only important as far as standings, but it really will put you up against one of the best teams in the NFC. Can the Lions truly hold up with the way their current roster is constructed, with the way the injuries are defensively, everything they have going on in their offensive line? Do they have enough to show that they can beat probably the best team in the NFC in the Rams? So not only boost your playoff chances, it sends a message that this Lions team is battle-tested and that they can beat anybody. And really, a victory here, I think, puts you back into a Super Bowl conversation. Now, according to Trim, they're there. I am not necessarily 100% there yet. I still think the Lions have a lot to prove. You know, their offensive line can remain consistent. This defensive pressure is an actual thing that remains consistent. And if those two things hold true, then a lot of other good things will fall into place. Trim, I won't ask you, but I love that you know, and I'm going to take your word for it. Millicent says, I'm not worried. My personality is such that I cannot worry about something until I am given a reason to worry. I love that. I cannot worry based on speculation. Millicent, I need to take some advice from you because I've had a stressful week at work. I really have. I don't know, and I can't even really pinpoint one thing. It's been a lot of little things, but I do a lot of worrying as far as work and some other stuff in life. So I would love to take some of that aura from you and that attitude. I love that. Trim says, we have too good of coaching. I mean, last week was kind of step one. They were able to kind of get that grit back, and that's something I didn't know if they could. I didn't know if they could get back to their winning ways based on everything else that was going on. And that's coaching. I mean, that's getting your guys ready to play. You obviously saw him on Ross St. Brown come out and have that heroic performance with his ankle sprain and playing through it. So I really thought that there is proof in the pudding that the Lions coaching staff still has it. They have yet to lose those back-to-back games. You know, that streak continues. So there's a lot of good. I'm not scared, buddy. When it comes to Lions, I'm not scared. Not at all. Detroit fan, man, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the chat. Says tight end room after Ross Dwelly got waived today is Anthony Ferkser, Hayden Rucci. I think I might have mispronounced Rucci, not Ricci. Skipper is going to play the whole game. You'll probably see a lot of Skipper as the extra lineman, tight end. Obviously, they're not going to try to get him the ball, but I think Rucci will see the field a lot more. To add one more layer to this, Detroit fan, man, they're also going to lose their tight ends coach. It looks like the tight ends coach for the Lions is going to take the offensive coordinator job at Iowa State, Tyler Roll, who is the tight ends coach. So they let go of Dwelly. They don't have their three tight ends, Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra. They're all out. No Ross Dwelly. So you're right. We got Ferkser, we got Hayden Rucci, and we don't have a tight ends coach. So that's a bad situation. So the more importance of this offensive line and what can they do to scheme this up to make up for the fact that they don't really have a tight end. That's an issue, man. I don't know if there's an answer to that. The answer is they don't have a good tight end right now. Trim, peace out, brother. Love you. Although I feel like you're going to be back, but I love you. Thanks for hanging around. Tight end is the biggest draft need that we aren't talking about yet. I'm in between. I mean, they're going to need something. I don't know what the plan is with Wright and Zylstra as far as long term. Obviously, with Sam Laporta, they love Sam Laporta. They're probably going to work to re-sign him. So, yeah, there's probably a depth tight end piece that needs to be drafted there. Jeff says Rams will be tough. Pass rush will determine the game. I agree with you. Can they get to Stafford? Can they make a difference through their pass rush again? Because that'll mean everything for this secondary. Trim says you can't stop all the weapons we have. You're right. It's an almost impossible feat. Now, the offensive line made it easier to stop the weapons because it sped up the Lions' offense. But last week, or against Thursday, against the Cowboys, you saw better offensive line play, led to a more efficient, more confident Goff, more explosives. Theo says small improvements and they will roll. I do think Hutch needs a couple breathers occasionally. Pressure on Stafford will be key. Theo, we hit on a lot of the Hutch topic last week as far as his true effectiveness. But I agree with you. The fact is he's playing a majority of snaps, more than other elite edge rushers play, and that affects his explosives. Let's put it that way. So I think if he had more off the field time and was able to come in and just be a true pass rusher in certain situations, he'd probably have more sack numbers. I'm not worried about Hutch. I'm really not. I wish he was more elite, like he was a Micah Parsons or a Myles Garrett, sure. But I just think that with another draft for Brad Holmes, I think there will be focus on getting another pass rusher. It'll immensely help Aiden Hutchinson and his effectiveness. Waymo, J-Mo, and GIBBS, baby. Yeah, Trim, Captain Jack, he is, again, I hate to keep going back to it. Jack Campbell is the heart of this Lions defense now. I really believe that. And I think he's got everything on his shoulders. And I don't mean that to put so much pressure on him, but truthfully, I think his play will dictate how well the Lions will be in these last 4 weeks and whether or not they can get to the playoffs. Millicent says, create a visual pie chart of your life. Real things get a slice. How large you make each slice is up to you. Situations you cannot control get slivers. Large slices are whatever brings you joy. That's a great way to do it. That's a great look at it, Millicent. I appreciate you bringing that to the chat. I'm going to take you up on that. I might do a visual pie chart of my life. I love it. Appreciate you. Right now, the Lions are underdogs. And rightfully so, right? The Rams have been hot. Matthew Stafford's playing, you could even argue, the best football of his career, which is insane. So with all that being said, what percentage do you give the Lions to make the playoffs right now? I want to hear from you guys. I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it. What percentage do you give the Lions to make the playoffs? What chances do you give them right now? Prim says he called the Derek Barnes interception last game. Heck yeah. Called that. PK is going to be in beast mode again. I love it. Tom Kennedy, we need him. We need him bad. I love that he got a shot. I love the way he speaks. He's got like a real man's, like a homie kind of vibe to him. You know, loves that he gets the opportunity. So really cool to see. 100% make the playoffs. Trim comes down to the Bears game at the end. Yeah, I really think. I mean, the script writers are kind of prepping this thing for that last week of the year. I'll tell you what, that's going to be a good game. Cheers. And we kind of started to do that, but let's preview this Week 15 matchup. Lions-Rams. Huge matchup for both of these teams. Measuring stick, and will ultimately tell the story of how the rest of the season will go for the Lions. Matchup dynamics to this game. I think the first one you got to look out for is the Rams offense versus Detroit's now somewhat depleted secondary. You know, and with Branch out, I think this group is going to be tested heavily in this matchup. And it goes back to the pass rush being so critical. That's really going to tell the story of this game. Rams offense versus Detroit secondary. And can the pass rush affect the game the way it did against the Dallas Cowboys and Dak, to where these guys don't have to defend for more seconds? Theo says, we doused Tampa Bay's fire. We doused Dallas's fire. No time. No, it's time for the now it's time for the trifecta. I agree with you. And this might be the toughest test of them all. As a matter of fact, it is going to be the toughest test of them all. Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, that whole group. Paul, how you doing? What up, bro? How you doing, man? Welcome to the chat. Keith, how you doing, brother? Detroit Fan Man says, for me, the playoffs already started in Detroit. Regrettably, we are only 1-3 as dogs this year, but the inside-outside linebacker looked better than expected versus Dallas. Oh, the inside offensive line looked better against Dallas. Here's hoping. I'm with you. I mean, if the interior of the offensive line can hold up the way they did against Dallas, I think it allows that rhythm. And then again, it's all about the pass rush on the other side. 1-3 is dogs. Is that right, Detroit fan? I actually didn't know that. That's interesting. It's interesting. Keith's calling for an Amik interception. I like that. We're going to need a lot of Amik Robertson in this matchup. I think he's going to be, he'll probably be your second corner, a combination between him and Rock Ya-Sin, between those guys in the outside in the slot. Mullet is good. It is nice to see him back, Paul. Again, true difference maker? No, but familiar and can make plays, has proven that. So good to have him back. Lions offensive execution. And again, that goes what you just said as far as the interior offensive line. Detroit fan man, that's really the thing. If protection holds up, the healthy backfield, GIBBS, Montgomery, I mean, there's a lot that can happen. Plus, they've been using them out of the backfield. This really could challenge that Rams defensive front. I mean, that might be where the Lions have a leg up. And then we talked about Tom Kennedy, special teams, field position, forcing turnovers, not giving up turnovers. Those small things, penalties, those all play a factor in these kind of matchups. I think Dan Campbell has also proven that he's kind of gotten away from the Dan Gamble persona, at least for a few weeks, and has been willing to take points, been willing to punt the football when necessary, flip the field. So we'll see if that continues here on the road. Keith says, Sin should get more snaps. He's been playing well. I agree. He's really been the most physical corner you've had. He's got more size than DJ Reed. I'm not saying he's a better corner necessarily, but I just think that Rock Ya-Sin does provide a little bit more edge, which you like in that position. So what are the keys to victory for the Detroit Lions heading to the LA Rams to face Matt Stafford in Week 15? And again, the first thing is the Lions pass rush, the defensive pressure on the Rams quarterback. Get sacks, get pressure, get it early so that offense cannot settle in. Limit the turnovers, the mental mistakes. Again, we just hit on that, but that's the easiest thing in these road matchups, these big games to lean on that will give you an edge. Have to get GIBBS involved early. Montgomery, it was good to see him have a dynamic play last week. Let's see if we can get him more touches. The dual threat, I think, keeps the defense guessing. Have them both on the field at the same time, I think, is also a benefit to the Lions. Obviously, the DBs, the depth has to step up. Guys like Amik Robertson, Rockyasin, Mullet, DeMonte Kazee, who they just picked up. Guys coming basically off the street as a depth piece need to step up and make plays for this Lions defense. That's how this happens. And if they can keep the momentum of their special teams, the field position, the willingness to punt, take points when you have to, being okay going for it on fourth down when the situation calls for it, those are the keys to the Lions getting a victory in Los Angeles. And it seems simple, and the Lions did a lot of those things against Dallas at home. So can this continue now in Week 15? Can this momentum continue for the Lions? But the offensive line cohesion, the depth in the secondary, the fact the Lions now have to go on the road, it's not necessarily a real tough environment, and I think Lions fans will travel. But I just think it's a different scenario late in the season, on the road against a familiar opponent. And, of course, Matt Stafford. Just a tough vibe. What do you guys think is the biggest key here in Week 15? For the Lions to beat the Rams, in your opinion, what is the biggest key? Let me know in the chat. Keith says Hutch needs to get home this week. Milton says fast start. Lions need to score on the first possession. I like that idea. I think that's always a key to success. Offensive line play, according to Paul. Everybody's counting Detroit out. That's why I know we are in, baby, says Trim. Frazier looked real good, says Paul. That's about, the offensive line cohesion. Sounds like he's going to get more playing time this week, so good to see that. Theo says offensive line and playing from ahead, not from behind. Demo's participation at a high level will keep them on their heels, Sonic, and Knuckles. Yeah, great mix there, buddy. Offensive line, getting them both mixed in. Keith says Goff needs to stay upright. The O-line needs to play a great game against the Rams defensive line. They're tough. They have some really good talent up front. Guys that can get after it. It's going to test this offensive line yet again, but I'm hoping that with the continuity they found in Dallas, they got a little talent back now. I think they can make this happen. Millicent says Lions need to get Demo and GIBBS in the end zone early. I mean, that. I agree with you. I mean, if playing from ahead is much more in the Lions' favor than them trying to catch up. I think if you have to pin the Lions into a pass-only situation, that's a issue only because of the instability on their offensive line, and we know what happens with Jared Goff when he's pressured from the interior. So, yes, I agree with you, Millicent. Demo and GIBBS early and often. Try to find a way to score on the ground. Dictate the pace of the game through your rushing attack. That helps with your play action. Again, things that we've all discussed here and we know, but that's so important in this game. Danny says pressure and offensive line. That's huge, bud. 2 good points, and probably my keys to success. Defensive pressure, offensive line play. Keith says JMO 2 TDs and 100 yards. JMO been balling out recently and has had to do that, has had to step up with the injuries stacking up, especially with Amon-Ra St. Brown being a little bit hobbled. Now, he did play last week. I expect him to play again this week. He actually looked really good. It didn't hobble him much. But JMO's been stepping up in this case. Better route running. Hasn't had much issue with drops. So, I'm with you there with the JMO thing. Trim says, I'm so sick of all the Goff haters. There's so much of that out there, Trim. It's hard. It's hard not to run into that. Matter of fact, there's a commenter, Pete. on every single one of my videos that has to include something about Goff. Like just beating up Goff every day. And I just think people just hang on it, man. I feel like we should have been over this a year and a half ago, maybe 2 seasons ago. Goff is the quarterback. He's our quarterback. And we're going to roll with him. And he can win us a Super Bowl. So again, what's the biggest key to beating the Rams in your opinion? Got a few great suggestions out there. Offensive line, pressure from the defensive line. Danny says, I believe Lions are getting into their groove. Heard that. I saw some predictions out there that they could even win these last 4 games. Keith says, it's not Goff's fault. It's the O-line. I think you're exactly right, Keith. A good O-line is a good Jared Goff and vice versa. You know, they kind of work one and the same. Milton says, when both Demo and GIBBS score in the first half of a game, it always brings a surge of energy and mojo to the entire team. I'd love to hear a stat, like what their win percentage is when they both score a touchdown in the first half. My guess is they probably have never lost a game in that scenario. Paul Jones says, 19 of J-Mo's last 22 catches are first downs or touchdowns. Great stat, Paul. You know what you get for that, dude? That is a gong-worthy stat, my friend. That's fantastic. Good input. 19 of J-Mo's last 22 catches are first downs or touchdowns. Talk about dynamic playmaking when you have to have it. So that speaks a lot about J-Mo right there and how much faith and reliability they have in him. Great input, Paul. The gong. I'm going to try and save it for only important items. So when Millicent joins the chat and when Paul drops the stats. And that rhymes. So you're welcome. That's why you come here, guys, because I'm dropping the hot bars for you every single night, every single Tuesday. Offensive line keeps letting Jahmyr Gibbs getting record yards. I mean, that's the thing. I think what I was leaning back on a few weeks ago was like the consistency of the rushing attack. So where, you know, just like being able to pound the rock, control the clock. And again, I'm rhyming like crazy right now. It's not on purpose. But I just think that's what was missing in this offense. You know, like if we go back to the game against the Ravens, remember they had those 2 or 3 just marathon type drives that seem to lean on the rushing attack. And I'm not saying every game you're going to have 3 or 4 drives like that, but they just didn't have the ability to lean on their run game and have a 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 play drive on the regular to eat clock. And it feels like they're getting back to that now. I feel like they're getting a little bit more creative in their offensive sets. We've seen Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery on the field at the same time, a better mix of those two. So I really think they're starting to figure this out. It came down to a lot of play calling issues in the offensive line. Fanman says, Mahogany returned to practice yet. Yes, he did. Let's confidently expect to see this interior offensive line reintroduce itself. Plus, Mahog, Tate, and Miles is the future. Has so much potential. I agree with that. The future of this offensive line is still there. The Ragnow thing, I think, put a damper on the whole parade a little bit because we got excited he was coming back, that he wasn't. The Lions were losing at that point, so it didn't feel right. But long term, you love Ratledge. I think he's doing fantastic for a rookie year on the right side. I think they know they have to figure out something at center. But they have the mix of Mahogany and Frazier. So between those 3 characters, I think they'll figure it out. Does Ratledge become the center long term? Either way, I think the future looks good. I'm with you. Paul, you definitely deserve that gong tonight, brother. You hit me with a quality stat. We'll keep them coming too. Sorry, guys. If I'm missing any comments in the chat, I apologize. I try to hit every single one. I really do. But with the more and more fun we're having, more people coming into the chat, it's been hard to keep up. And I appreciate that so much, guys. I honestly do. That warms my heart. That means we're doing the right thing here. So I appreciate you. I will try to go back and hit everybody. And please don't take offense if I miss one of your comments. I will circle back with you. He says, wait, I thought J-Mo was just a decoy. That's what fans were saying. Keith, I heard that a lot too. Listen, and I put out content talking about J-Mo. We've sort of kind of ridden the wave with him from his rookie year and the ups and downs. He had the injury, the gambling, and all this stuff. But he's really, I'd say this last offseason, he took another step. The route tree, his hands, Goff and the offense's faith in him. He's really become their 1B wide receiver and has proven that even in a situation, he can be a 1A. So I feel good about that. What's up, Lupe Lion 17? How you doing? Welcome to the chat. Says, hey, Johnny, not sure if you talk about this yet or not, but with Miles showing promise, where would you put him on the line? Word from the organization is he's going to play again and going to see significant time on the line against the Rams. I would, as long as Mahogany's not ready to go, I would put him at the left guard. I would put Ratledge at the right guard, and I would put Glasgow at the center. I think right now that's your best combo of three. I think in the future you might see Ratledge center, Miles to the right, Mahogany to the left. But really, I think working Miles in as much as possible this week is a good thing. So that's where I'm at with that, Lupe. Or Loop. If I'm saying that right, I apologize. Milton says, I'm pretty sure that I saw a stat that said we are 0-5 in games where GIBBS did not score a TD. I don't doubt you there. It seems like if we can't get GIBBS going, that means the rushing attack didn't get going. There's no explosives. Makes the Lions a bad offense. So I would be with you on that one. Paul says, Ratledge is the center of the future. Dan kind of let it on it while talking about Frazier today. I didn't catch his press, so I didn't get all the words there. I got the comments. Thank you, Paul. And that would make a lot of sense. That really makes a lot of sense. It is hard to be a mod. Trim, you the man. It's a fun and good energy show. You talk about mine? I appreciate that, Theo. I try to keep it rolling. Frazier will be a rotation guy this season. Okay, so just kind of spot him where needed. And that's fine. I mean, I think whatever the best combo is for them, they need to roll with. And Mahogany, I thought had proved himself. So I just think once he's healthy, he's got to put him back in the left guard position. And Ratledge is there, and you love the veteran leadership of your center. So again, I think that's why Frazier might not be necessarily your starting left or starting right away, just like you said, Paul. Excuse me, pardon me. Frazier going to be a stud. My favorite pick this past draft. Keith, I was with you. I like the Tesla pick and I like the Frazier pick. Now, the Tesla pick got lambasted because as the Lions were sort of slipping out of playoff contention, everything was about, well, they wasted third-round picks. They could have had a defensive player, blah, 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 blah. But you give it time. I mean, a lot of these draft picks have shown, let's go all the way back to Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs. Those two picks, first-round draft picks, were destroyed. You don't take a running back that high. You can't take a off-the-ball linebacker in the first round. Well, you got an MVP candidate on the offensive side of the football, and now you got an all-pro linebacker. So I think those questions have been answered. So my point is with that is give Frazier time, give Tesla time. They're slowly starting to show, and I think this will be a long-term play. And Paul says this last draft was great. I think it will prove to be great. I still think there's a missing piece. I would have still loved a better edge rusher, more defensive edge presence. I'd still love that. But, Paul, I'm with you. So let's get into some predictions for Rams. Lions-Rams, Week 15. This is a 4:25 kickoff on Sunday. Again, the Lions will have had a 10-day rest period, so it's not a bye week, but certainly they will take those extra rest days. And if Detroit shows up disciplined, if they could get pressure on Matthew Stafford, and they don't beat themselves, I really believe they have a good shot. I really do. The Rams are tough. I think they're going to have issues on the offensive line. I'm talking about the Lions and in their secondary. But if the pass rush is there, it helps the secondary. If the rushing game's there and Jared Goff plays with confidence, sometimes the offensive line and that can work in conjunction. So I do think they have a great shot. The momentum, the gritty play they showed in Dallas can continue. Guys like Jahmyr Gibbs will continue to be explosive. I don't see that going away. Keith says Frazier only allowed 3 sacks in college against dominant SEC teams. He should have been at least a second-round pick. I was surprised he fell. I think he had some injury history concerns. which probably affected his draft status. But, the Lions they're not affected by injury history. Keith also says 34-31 Lions. So nice high-scoring game. That'd be a great final. Paul's got the Lions on the money line. Detroit Fan Man says, I predict we boo his kids again. Lucky it's on the road. We still travel well. Yes, Lions fans let his kids and his wife have it pretty good. Line 17 says, with the Ram defense as good as it is, do you think Lions use a run and shoot offense? It's a good question. Here's what I honestly think. Lions are stubborn. Lions coaching staff, Lions schemes are stubborn in a sense where they really don't adjust overarching scheme week to week. So to think they're going to go to a run and shoot, I would say no. Will they use some aspects of a run and shoot? Yes, potentially. But really, honestly, what I think the best thing they can do is establish the rush early. That opens everything else up. Or use your play action in an attempt to establish early, and then you can sort of play that into a run game. Use both your running backs on the field at the same time. I mean, use that as part of that scheme shift, and I think that helps your cause. Danny says 27-24 Lions. Love it. Keith says, I definitely think it's going to be a high-scoring game with barely any punts. I'm okay with that. No Jack Fox sightings. Danny says Lions win. Of course. I got you, Danny. 27-24. Is it Lupe? Also, you said my name right the first. I'm going to assume Lupe. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I appreciate you getting involved in chat more than anything. Appreciate your time. Milson says 37-31 Lions. Who do you think steps up in the secondary? With Branch out, with everything going on, who's that player that we now can lean on in the secondary? Is there a guy, or a pair of guys? Who should the Lions look to? Why's my shirt get all messed up? Sorry. In this secondary, who is the guy that has to step up with Brian Branch out and with them hurting as far as depth? Paul says Rams give up middle of the field passes. Their line is brutal, so ball has to come out quickly. So the Lions will have a chance to get to Stafford, but the question is quick enough to where they can't get the ball out. Okay. Paul, I love it. Great game insight. Great game insight. There it is. What I like about that is that the Lions will have an opportunity to get their pass rush going again. That really helps everything else out. Can they get exotic to the point where they're really in Matthew Stafford's face so early to where it truly affects them? Because if they can get the ball out early, these weapons, that's what scares me a little bit, is your depth in the secondary will be tested. Can they tackle? Can they gang tackle? Can they group tackle? They have proven they can do it. Can they do it again against a better opponent on the road? That's going to be tough. Keith says Sin, Rock Sin. I think that's going to be huge. Lupe says Maddox and Whiteside. Millicent says Maddox, Avante Maddox. Yeah, we need him. We need to step up at safety. I think Maddox does feel like the right answer, Detroit Fan Man. I like that. We've heard that 3 times in the chat. I love that, guys. I appreciate you. If you have not already, make sure to slap the like button. It's the best free way to help out the stream. If you haven't visited at Johnny Gaz Sports on any one of your socials, make sure to search for it. Again, it's just at Johnny Gaz Sports, all one word. I am on all of your social networks. Free content there. There's memberships and subscriptions on YouTube and Facebook where I do a ton of fun content. And we have fun just like we do here on Johnny Gaz Live, Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I appreciate all of your guys' support. Who do you think the offensive weapon is to watch against the Rams? You guys see my hair. Look at that. You can see my hair very often on Johnny Gaz. Look at you guys get the real. Got a haircut not too long ago. It used to be super long. I don't know. I'm usually rocking a hat, though. So who's the offensive weapon? We talked about defense. I think Avante Maddox gonna come in and play. Freaking Campbell is a monster. Dude, Keith, you called it. I'm with you. I'm going to throw this on the screen. I want a Jack Campbell jersey, too. So badly. I got Jared Goff. I got Jahmyr Gibbs. I got the Johnny Gaz Tiger. I actually have a Calvin Johnson Hall of Fame. But I think the next one I want, I'm with you, is a Jack Campbell jersey. He's the man. I love it. We picked up Evil Brian Branch today. Dude's a villain. Nakua, hands down. Well, okay. Good point, Theo. So biggest threat offensively for the Rams, absolutely. Well, I think I might not have asked it right, but question actually was biggest offensive threat versus the Rams for the Lions. But I agree with you, Theo. Nakua, I don't know how they stop him. You know, I think it's going to be a combo of linebackers. So when he goes over the middle, he can't just kill us. And then just don't let him beat you deep. I think he's going to put his hands on the ball. I don't think there's any stopping him getting receptions. Just don't let the big splash plays happen with him. I think Dan is leveling up play caller. He took the points instead of going for it. Keith, I'm with you. I think there's been a change in his routine. He has not been as aggressive. Maybe it's because the Lions haven't been necessarily in those fourth and tight situations as often, but it seems like he's willing to take points and punt the ball away. David Montgomery is huge. The reason why, and I'm with you, Lupe, is because like if he's going, that means the bread and butter rushing attack is working. The short yardage, you know, work the clock, pound the rock. I said it twice today. I apologize. But you get the idea. So I'm with you. Who do you think the offensive weapon besides GIBBS is against the Rams? Yeah, that's a good point, Detroit fan. That's a great question, actually, because GIBBS is always going to be the case. I would say Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's going to have another big day. And again, that's another obvious one. But I think Amon-Ra gets in the end zone this matchup. I think this could be another big day for him because he's had 10 days to rest. He played last week. I think he'll play again this week. So I think that would be the guy I'd go to. Scott likes Whiteside a lot. I'm with you there, buddy. So what do the Lions need to make the playoffs, says Bravo? Well, that's a great question. We didn't really hit on what record should be. So here's the deal. Lions are still chasing. They're on the outside looking in. And actually, let's give you some exact here. But ultimately, if the Lions go 4-0, they're in. And the question at that point is, if the Packers drop 2 games to where the NFC North is still, you know, in play. There it is. So we know the NFC North standing: Packers, Bears, Lions, Vikings. Pack at 9-3-1. Bears 9-4. Lions 8-5. Vikings out of it. Lions have Rams, Steelers, Vikings, Bears left. Packers have Broncos, Bears, Ravens, Vikings left. For the playoff picture, the division leaders are the Rams, Packers, Eagles, and Bucks. Actually, the Eagles lost, but I still think they're in first place there. Behind them then is the wild card where you have Seahawks at 10-3, 49ers at 9-4, Bears 9-4, and then the Lions at 8-5, Panthers and Cowboys behind them. The Bears have the Browns, the Packers, and the 49ers before playing the Lions. So really what it comes down to is a 4-0 finish puts the Lions in with a potential NFC North title, depending on what happens with the Packers. 3-1 puts them, I think, in the playoffs with that Week 18 matchup, meaning everything. Meaning they'd have to probably win that last game as their third victory of the 4 to then flip over the Bears and get that last wild card spot. Anything less than 3 wins, I think they're out. I don't think they make the playoffs. That's the truth. So a 3-1 or 4-0 finish gets them in my opinion. There's some wild things that can happen if they go 2-2, where they would need so much help. But I'm not even going to get into that. Right now, we need to be thinking about the Rams. If you get a win there, you have very much so increased your chances of getting the playoffs. Matter of fact, you're probably a shoo-in for a wild card if you get a win against the Rams, as long as the rest of the season doesn't implode. So that's my answer to you. Bravo. Milson says JMO. Keith says St. Brown. Paul says Panthers ran for 210 yards on the Rams 2 weeks ago. That speaks well. Paul, I got to get you one of these, buddy. You've been killing it all night long. Paul. Yes. I was almost going to do, I don't know if I'm allowed to do what I was about to do. So I'm going to decide against it. But you get the gong, my man. You get the gong. You have hit it hard all day long. And I appreciate you, buddy. I rhymed again. I swear to God, I'm not trying to do that. Gong long. Oh, man. I need to write a song. All right, J-Mo lit the Rams up for over 100 yards last season with improvements in his routes. Look out, Rams, says Millicent. Lupe says, most teams are planning for Demo. I think he would be a nice secret weapon. Same with that legend, Tom Kennedy. Absolutely. Detroit Fan Man says, it's crazy St. Brown is setting the NFL 5-year record while simultaneously there is a legit debate in the franchise if he is even the best wide receiver on the team. Yeah, what a wide receiver. You're right. I mean, and then think about the long-term perspective on Isaac Tesla and what that could mean. So, holy smokes. He says, J-Mo or St. Brown, one of them is getting 2 TDs. John Jarvis, how you doing? Welcome to the chat, my man. Tom Kennedy is the man. We love that guy. Tom Kennedy for life. Thank you, John. Appreciate you getting involved. Scott says, yeah, Kennedy has looked good the last couple weeks, and I think he'll continue to be your kick returner. It has to be. He's led the team in all-purpose yards. That's nuts, but I love it. The gong is back, Millicent. She loves the gong. Millicent and Paul dropping gong shots today. Let me tell you. Love it. Detroit Fan Man also dropping a lot of good knowledge today, too. Let me shout you out, brother. You are well on your way to a gong. I'm sure you don't need it, but Johnny Gaz Sports loves the gong. Bravo says, thank you. You should make a video. No one has explained it so well. You earned a subscribe. Hey, thanks, brother. Oh, my gosh. Bravo. You don't have to do that, brother. Thank you. A $2 dono from my man, Bravo. I appreciate you. So, and I think just to go to what you just said, I believe, and let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see if I can pull this up as we do it. I haven't done a lot of sharing screen. See if I can make this happen. There we go. Okay, I did it. Oh my God, I did. Okay. So, and I'll get better at this, guys, I promise. But at Johnny Gaz Sports, you see, I've really been specializing in shorts. This season more so than last season. Last season, I did a lot of long-form content, and although it's great, I don't mind it. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work to do these long-form videos. Truthfully, it's been a lot easier to do with shorts. So as you see here, shorts every single day. And I believe this week we did a Lions clear path to the playoffs. So we won't play it here live on stream, but I sort of laid out Bravo where they stood last week. So just to give you an example of some of the content that you can find here on Johnny Gaz Sports. But yeah, to go back to what you said, ultimately Lions need to win football games. They need to figure out a way. There we go. Figure out a way to make this week happen, and then we'll figure out a way to make next week happen. But a 4-0 finish says it all. A 3-1 finish puts you in a great spot. 2-2, you are asking too many questions. Appreciate you, Millicent. I do. I pride myself in the shorts. I really appreciate that. 3-minute drill, top threes. I've tried to make them into something, and it's not just a short. It has meaning. It has purpose. And ultimately, we're talking about Detroit Lions. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Now I'm good. Just home ripping my bong. Well, you know what you earn with that? Because you rhyme, brother. You rip a bong, you get a gong. That's the rule. Keith, we have a lot in common, my brother. We don't need to go any farther than that, but I will be over in a few minutes. Millicent, Tesla's catches are a thing of beauty. He is one big, strong target. And he's a beautiful man, too, isn't he? God. I mean, I'm happily married. My wife sleeps upstairs. But those beautiful locks, let me tell you. Run the like button up for you, brother. Appreciate you, Keith. Thanks, man. Appreciate all you guys for getting involved in the chat early and often. 3-minute drills. Thanks, Millicent. Yeah, those are fun. Those are cool because I think that's what sort of got me into the vibe of doing the shorts. Like when I came up with the 3-minute drill idea, I was like, oh, yeah, that's good to get all that concise information. I think people like it. I don't think anybody wants to sit there and watch a 22-minute video of a guy sitting there rambling about the Lions, you know? But I appreciate you guys. I really do. So some closing thoughts as we wrap up tonight's live. This win over Dallas, it showed resilience, showed that grit. But the road is still steep. Lions offensive line, Lions defensive line, they need to prove they can stack performances like they had in Dallas. The next few weeks will define whether or not the Lions fade out or make some noise. But ultimately, if you're a Lions fan, let's buckle up. Let's strap in. It's not time to relax. It's time to hit the gas. It's going to be a fantastic remaining 4 weeks of the season. It's why I'm a football fan. That's why we signed up for Lions football. That's why we're all fans, so we can play meaningful games in December, and we certainly have that ahead of us. If you enjoyed this live, make sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe, turn on those notifications so you know when we go live next time or when I release videos. We got a few more people coming in the chat. How we doing? Peter, there's Petersaurus Rex. What's up, dog? Appreciate you smashing that like. 247, Cash Success. How are you? Love the shorts, 3-minute drills. My main source for staying up are the Lions. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. The kind words. I really appreciate that. John Jarvis, what up? Love you, baby. Love all you Lions fans. We love you, John Jarvis. We love you for coming to the chat. I haven't used that one. I need an excuse to use that one, so I did. Johnny Gaz in the house. What up, Johnny Gaz? Papa Gaz. Papa Gaz on the road in Florida. Checking in from Florida. How we doing? Speaking of shorts, Milton says, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking out the Detroit Lions post of Coach Choice loving Demo's TD celebration. Oh, yeah. Tell me what that was. Yeah, he did explain what that dance was. I'm going to have to look into that. The Lions are so creative in their touchdown celebrations. So awesome. He's doing awesome. I love that. Love that, Papa. Papa. Hey, Papa. So final prediction time, guys. It's the last chat question of the night. Make sure to not miss out on it. It's been an unbelievable live. We have a fantastic time every Tuesday night at 9:30. Great stuff tonight. Appreciate you, Johnny G. But this is the final question of the night. Final prediction time. Final prediction time. Who wins Sunday? 4:25 kickoff. Lions traveling to SoCal, to LA. Is that Southern Cal? I don't even know. Travel to LA to face Matt Stafford and the Rams. Who do you have? What's the score? We cannot leave this chat room without you guys telling me who's winning this football game and what will be the final score. I don't know why that voice is coming out of me. I'm going to stop that right now. Final predictions, guys, in the chat before we end this live. What will the final score of this huge matchup be? Detroit Lions, LA Rams, offensive line versus defensive line. Lions beat up secondary versus Puka. Puka! What a name. What a fantastic name. 34-30 Lions, according to Petersaurus Rex. I love that tag, by the way, bud. Don't ever change it. Petersaurus Rex is fantastic. Everybody go check out at Petersaurus Rex and subscribe because of that fantastic name. You probably also do great content. Bates with a banger to win it. 34-32. Detroit fan man with the prediction. I love it. Johnny G says it's going to be a tough one. Lions 28, Rams 24. I like it. I like it a lot, guys. And Detroit fan man, I'm sorry I missed this. So for me, let me get that up. It says, for me, the win over Dallas changed my kind of negative opinion on this draft class. Talik, Tate, Tesla, Miles all played well enough to say this class has potential. And yeah, listen, I'm with you. I was also starting to get pretty negative. I was going to negative town. I don't usually with the Lions, and I'm not saying I was like giving up or saying the season was over, but you could see in the content that I was making, I mean, there was a negative view of a lot of things. The offensive line was in shambles. The defensive line couldn't get pressure. And I wasn't hiding. I don't hide things from what I see. If I see it, I'm going to tell you guys. And if things change, I'm going to tell you guys that. We live and die. We ride the wave. And each week, I'm going to tell it to you like it is. We're going to talk. We're going to figure this out. Theo says Lions 33-31. Rams. I love it. But yeah, things were getting a little negative town there for a little bit. So the game against Dallas, I would say also flipped my perspective a little bit. That pass rush got home. Amon-Ra St. Brown's performance alone, I thought was enough to inspire. To hear how they talked in the locker room after the game, the energy that was there, you kind of felt that team coming back that we knew was there. So I agree with you. I think that Dallas game turned a lot of people's eyes the other way. So we're going to feel good about that. We're going to ride this momentum into LA on Sunday afternoon and hopefully get a victory. So make sure to come back and see me next Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, every Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Johnny Gaz Live at Johnny Gaz Sports on YouTube, Facebook. Big shout out to 313 Villain Squad on Facebook. Let me pull out my media here. Big shout out to 313 Villain Squad on Facebook for allowing us to project our lives on that platform. Big shout out to Lions Talk Live on YouTube. Dan and the Duke crew over there have been huge in the growth of this channel and supporting me, so I appreciate that. Make sure to check them out. Hit that like button on the stream if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to click that button. It's the best way to make sure you stay involved with the channel and don't miss any future posts. I always try to keep Lions content clear, concise, honest, reliable for you each and every day. And that's what we'll continue to do. And it's because of people like you in the chat that I continue to do this and will continue to do so. Millicent, Peter, Johnny G, Theo, John, Detroit Fan Man, John Jarvis, 24/7 Cash, Keith, Trim, of course, Scott, everybody who was involved in this chat today. I appreciate you. Thank you for sticking around for me. Thank you for being involved and having a good time with me this evening. Hopefully we'll see you guys real soon. The rest of the week, this is the plan. Tomorrow we will have some content coming out of this live with all the fun we have in these conversations. Over the next several days, we'll have the preview for Detroit Lions, LA Rams. I'll show you the key matchups. We'll talk about the X factors, and I'll tell you what the difference in the game will be all over the course of the next several days, leading into the weekend, leading up until this Sunday night matchup, 4:25 Lions, Rams, Week 15. Should be a lot of fun, just like tonight. Got to get to him, Johnny Jarvis. That's absolutely correct. Got to get home, and we got to end this live for this evening. So I'm going to end it right there. Thank you guys so much for all the time tonight. Be kind to those around you more than anything else. Take care of yourself and that mental health. It is so important. Everything starts there. We had a good chat with Milton earlier about keeping that stress down, making sure you segment the important things in your life. That's a very important thing, and it all starts up here. Mental health. Mental health. I want to make sure you guys come back and see me on future videos. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Don't be a stranger. I will see you guys very soon. Peace.